Okay, so we're now going to move on to the next idea in the summing matrix, and that is adding together rows. So before we dive into all the nitty gritty, let's just zoom in here and just appreciate the underlying idea that we're trying to achieve here. So what we're trying to do here is simply add the columns up. 1 plus 6 is 7, 2 plus 3 is 5, 5 plus 10 is 15. That's the end result that we're after, to get a matrix which is the sum of all the columns. Now, how do we go about this? Well, we have to read this sentence right here. It says, to add the columns of an m by n matrix, pre-multiply by a 1 by m summing matrix. Let's break down each of those words. So this time we're adding the columns of an m by n matrix, and we're going to achieve this by pre-multiplying. What does this mean? Pre means before. And this time we're going to multiply it by a 1 by m summing matrix. Now, if it has a 1 here, that means it has one row, so it's a row matrix. It has an m amount of columns. So if we think about this, one row, but an m amount of columns. So m means it has a specific amount of columns, and that corresponds to the amount of rows of the original one. And we'll see that more in action as we go through it. Okay, so let's come down here now. It says, to add the elements in the columns of matrix A, we need to pre-multiply by a 1 by 2 summing matrix. So we have here, by doing this operation, what the end result is going to be is the addition of all the columns. That's what the end result is going to be. So what are we going to get as our final answer? Well, we know what the final answer is going to be. It's going to be 1 plus 6 is 7. 2 plus 3 is 5. 5 plus 10 is 15. That's going to be our final answer. But we don't really care about the final answer. What we care about is understanding the process which enables us to get there. That's what we want to understand in this lesson. So let's see what happens when we do this. First things first, pre-multiply means we're multiplying the summing matrix before our matrix A. Not after it, before it. So that's why it says pre-multiply. And as you can see, it is a row matrix that we're dealing with. So let's now see what happens when we do this. So remember, the way in which we multiply matrices is you multiply the row by the column. So that means what's going to happen here, when we come here, to figure out our first element here, it's going to be 1 by 1, 1 by 1, plus 1 by 6, 1 by 6. And then our next one is going to be, when I grab my next color here, this row by this column. So that's going to be 1 by 2, 1 by 2, plus 1 by 3, 1 by 3. Then we go to the next one. This will be this by this. So this will be 1 by 5, 1 by 5, plus 1 by 10, 1 by 10. And hopefully you can see what's happening here. What we're going to end up with is 1 plus 6, 1 plus 6. 2 plus 3, 2 plus 3. Then lastly, 5 plus 10, 5 plus 10. Do you see what happened? We added them together. So we're going to get 7, 5, 15. So by doing this, we get the addition of all the columns. And you need to understand the process that happened here. So understanding this process is very important. Look at my crate. Look how big this bracket is, and look how small that bracket is. Madness. All right. Hopefully that made sense of a summing matrix. So again, you need to understand that the summing matrix here is that one. That is the summing matrix. Hopefully that made sense. I'll see you in the next one.